Welcome back to Community Conversations. I'm your host, Steve Mantis, and my guest today is Charla Robinson with the Thunder Bay Chamber of Commerce. Welcome back, Charla.
Thank you.
Okay, so now in a way, we talked about that really Thunder Bay, for most of our economy, we're like all in this boat together.
Absolutely.
And we're providing goods and services to each other, and the more cooperation, it seems like, the better we're able to do that job.
Absolutely.
Within that context, so what are some of the current things that the Chamber is working on?
Well, from an advocacy perspective, we're trying to address some of the issues that we're hearing from business. So one big challenge we're hearing is around apprenticeship and skilled trades.
Okay.
We know that in Thunder Bay, it's an aging demographic. We know there's a lot of retirements coming up.
What? Who are you talking about?
No, not you, not at all. No, absolutely. Well, we do know that there's a lot of retirements coming up, and the skilled trades is having that challenge as well. And so there's a concern that if some of these mining projects really start to go forward quickly, will there be the labor force available? And a lot of the work that's required in a number of these mining projects, and also in forestry projects as well, there's a lot of apprenticeship type, journeyman type jobs. And so trying to work with the broader community, we've been working very closely with the North Superior Workforce Planning Board, and we've put together an apprenticeship focus group that brings together folks from all different walks of life. So we've got some folks from the union, some folks from the construction association, the construction industry, we've got the educational institutes, we've got the employment services folks, and we're all working together to say, what are the challenges that face apprenticeship specifically in Northern Ontario, and what are some solutions that we could propose to the government or to the College of Trades, or even things that we could maybe change locally to help to improve the number of people going into apprenticeships, but then also successful completions of apprenticeships, so that we can be prepared for the growth that's going to be coming down the line and the jobs that are going to be available.
Right. I mean, I guess that's the challenge, because as you mentioned, if, like the Ring of Fire goes forward, and if and when, it's like, that's kind of out of our hands, or maybe it's not, I don't know. Does the Chamber get involved in that kind of area in terms of having a good idea who is coming in terms of business, and how far ahead can you predict something like that?
Well, certainly that's the challenge around the skilled trades, is the length of time that it takes to get a person trained.
Yes.
In order to take the job. So that's why in mining particularly, it's actually a little easier, because you know that it's going to take 4 or 5 years to build a mine and to get it into production. So you do have a little bit of lead time to actually get people into the trades, get them trained before they're going to be needed. But in some instances, you're exactly right. There may be a quick change in a company is looking for, perhaps as a big construction project, the courthouse, for example, in the last few years, lots of skilled trades needed there. And that ended up drawing away from all of the other businesses who also needed skilled trades, because there was a limited availability. And so then it turns into a little bit of the supply demand, right? So who's going to pay me the highest dollar to be able to do the job? And it actually has a negative impact, because sometimes if there isn't the labor available, you can't get the work done, and then everything has to be deferred. So it is a big challenge, and it's definitely something that I think it will take a focused effort by all individuals that are involved. So it can't just be the business community talking about it. It has to be the business community, the education system, the labor unions, the training opportunities, everybody coming together to say, we need to work together to move towards a solution. And that's what we're trying to do.
So when you do that, do you also take into account kind of those economic cycles? Like I worked in the trades back in the day. Yeah. And there was boom and bust. There was times when, there's lots of work, and there's other times where you had to wait 6-8 months before you got a call out in your trade. And, so for families to be able to survive on that cycle, does that kind of discussion come into it as well?
Absolutely. And again, the whole skilled trades discussion is a complex one, because again, in order to train people to be journeymen, they need to have the hours of work to
Yes.
get their ticket. And so if the work isn't available now, how are they getting the work that they need to get the hours towards their ticket?
Yes.
So it becomes a bit of a balancing act and trying to find those opportunities. So we know that a lot of folks in recent years have gone to the oil sands and have been doing, working there to get their hours, but with the long-term plan that they think there's going to be opportunities here, so they're going to go there, they're going to get their ticket, going to get their experience, and then hopefully they'll be coming back here when the opportunities arise here. But it does become a challenge because then you have interprovincial rules, and you have to make sure that you're doing the appropriate things to be able to work in Ontario, whereas you may be getting your training in Alberta. So it's a tricky situation, and that's why it's taking a little bit of time for us to really come up with some solutions to the challenges. But we also know in northern communities there's a challenge because we do have so few, in a small community like say in Nipigon, we have so few people that are actually skilled tradespeople right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so to get those people to do the training, there are certain rules that have been set up that the government and the College of Trades only allows training of so many people. Well, if you only have one electrician, you can only train one electrician. Mm-hmm. You can't train 2 or 3 or 4 electricians under that one, so it makes it harder. It sort of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You don't have the electricians because you can't train the electricians, so then you don't have the electricians. So trying to come up with solutions for those types of challenges.
And I think about too in my experience, around workplace safety and injury, that kind of stuff, that a lot of the trades are pretty physically demanding jobs.
Absolutely.
And so once you get into your 50s, sometimes you've been hurt a number of times and it's hard to carry on.
Yeah.
But you still have years to go until your retirement. Mm-hmm. Is that kind of discussion, does that come into that kind of the transition as people are older? Does that come into the planning as well? For
sure, and in an ideal world, it would be those folks who are moving into the later end of their career who would be providing the training, mm-hmm. so that they don't have to be doing the hands-on heavy work, but they can be using their knowledge and experience to train the young folks to get them into the trade. And so it's again finding that balance.
Well, I'm available to do the training in my yard because I could really use some help there, and I've got some skills. But
we'll get you some carpentry apprenticeships for the summer.
Please stay with us. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.